The massive alien ship floated in the darkness beyond Earth's solar system like a metal mountain. High Commander Vexithara stood on the bridge, her 6 crystalline arms moving across control panels with practiced ease. Her species, the Zephyrians, had conquered 847 star systems in the past 300 years. Today would make it 848. The viewing screen showed a small blue planet spinning peacefully in space. Earth. Another primitive world filled with creatures who thought they were alone in the universe. Vexithara had done this so many times before that she felt bored. The routine never changed. Send the ultimatum, watch them panic, accept their surrender, move on to the next world. Communications officer, prepare the standard message, she commanded. Her voice sounded like breaking glass, which was how her species always spoke. The communications officer, a younger Zephyrian with bright purple crystals covering his arms, nodded quickly. Yes, High Commander. Preparing quantum broadcast now. Around the flagship, 11,999 other Zephyrian warships waited in perfect formation. Each ship was larger than the biggest human building. Their hulls gleamed, with energy shields that could stop nuclear weapons like toys. Advanced computers calculated every possible response the humans might have. The results were always the same: complete and total defeat for any species that dared to fight back. On Earth, deep beneath the Swiss mountains in a secret facility, near CERN, alarms suddenly screamed through the corridors. Admiral Sarah Chen ran down the hallway, her military boots echoing off the metal walls. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, but everyone in the facility respected her completely. She had spent the last 10 years preparing for this exact moment. "Report!" she shouted as she entered the main command center. The room was huge, filled with computer screens and holographic displays. Dozens of technicians worked frantically at their stations. Director Marcus Webb, a tall man with thick glasses, turned from the main screen. His face was pale with worry. "Admiral, we're receiving an alien transmission on all frequencies. It's coming from beyond Pluto's orbit." The main screen flickered and showed the image of High Commander Vexithara. Her crystalline face looked down at them with obvious contempt. When she spoke, the computer translated her words into English. "Primitive creatures of the third planet." Her voice was cold and emotionless. "I am High Commander Vexithara of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our empire. You have 72 of your standard hours to surrender completely. Lay down all weapons. Prepare your leaders for processing. Resistance is futile and will result in the complete destruction of your species." The transmission continued, showing detailed scans of Earth's military capabilities. The aliens knew about every nuclear weapon, every military base, every satellite in orbit. They had been watching and studying for months, maybe years. "Your technology is primitive," Vexithara continued. "Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your defenses cannot protect you. Surrender now, and some of your population will be allowed to serve the Empire as workers. Resist, and your planet will be cleansed of all life. You have 72 hours to decide." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in complete silence. The technicians stared at their screens in shock. Some of them looked ready to panic. Director Webb removed his glasses and cleaned them nervously. Admiral Chen stood perfectly still for a long moment. Then she walked to the main control panel and activated a secure communication system. Red lights flashed as the system connected to hidden bases all around the world. "This is Admiral Chen," she announced. "Authorization code Phoenix 77. Project Lazarus is now active. All teams report to battle stations immediately." She turned to Director Webb, who looked confused. "Marcus, send a response to the aliens." "What should I tell them?" Webb asked, his hands shaking as he typed. Admiral Chen smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting 10 years for this fight. "Tell them we decline their ultimatum. Tell them they have 71 hours to leave our solar system." Webb stared at her like she had gone crazy. "Sarah, did you see their fleet? There are 12,000 ships out there. Each one could destroy a city." "Send the message, Marcus," Chen repeated calmly. With trembling fingers, Webb typed the response and transmitted it to the alien fleet. Then he sat back in his chair, expecting the world to end at any moment. On the Zephyrian flagship, the communications officer received Earth's response and read it twice before believing what he saw. He turned to High Commander Vexthara with confusion written across his crystalline features. High Commander, we have received a response from the primitive world. Excellent, Vexthara said without looking up from her tactical displays. Read their surrender terms. High Commander, the officer said carefully, they are not surrendering. They say we have 71 hours to leave their system. Every Zephyrian on the bridge stopped what they were doing. In 300 years of conquest, no species had ever refused their ultimatum after seeing the fleet. Vexthara's 4 eyes focused on the communications officer like laser beams. Repeat that message, she demanded. The officer read it again, word for word. The bridge remained silent except for the humming of the ship's engines. Then Vexthara began to laugh. It sounded like crystal wind chimes breaking in a hurricane. Soon other officers joined in. The entire bridge filled with the harsh laughter of the Zephyrian species. Incredible, Vexthara gasped between laughs. The primitives think they can threaten us. This is the most amusing thing I have experienced in decades. She wiped moisture from her crystalline eyes and composed herself. Communications, send them detailed scans of our fleet. Make sure they understand exactly how outmatched they are. Perhaps seeing the reality of their situation will restore their sanity. But even as she gave the order, something nagged at the back of her mind. In all her years of conquest, she had never encountered a species this confident in the face of certain defeat. Usually, primitive worlds either surrendered immediately or attacked in hopeless desperation. This calm refusal was something new. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the alien response on her screen. The detailed scans showed every ship in the enemy fleet, their weapon systems, their shield generators, their massive size advantage. Any reasonable person would look at this information and immediately surrender. Chen was not any reasonable person. Director Webb, she said calmly, please activate the quantum entanglement communicator. I need to speak with Luna Base, Mars Colony, and all asteroid mining stations. Webb's eyes widened. Sarah, those facilities don't exist. The Mars Colony project was canceled years ago, and we've never had permanent bases on asteroids. Admiral Chen smiled again, that same cold smile. Marcus, there's a lot you don't know about what humanity has been doing for the past 10 years. Now make the connections. As Webb frantically worked at his controls, Chen opened a secure channel to facilities that officially didn't exist. Deep space installations that had been built in complete secrecy. Weapons research centers hidden in asteroid fields. Ships constructed in the shadows of Jupiter's moons. For 10 years, ever since Earth's first alien probe had been detected and captured, humanity had been preparing for this day. The public knew nothing. Most governments knew nothing. Only a select few understood the true scope of Project Lazarus. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive, divided species armed with crude nuclear weapons. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Admiral Chen looked at the countdown timer on her screen. 70 hours and 15 minutes remaining. Let's show them what humans do when someone threatens our home, she whispered. High Commander Vexthara stared at Earth through the main viewing screen of her flagship. 24 hours had passed since the humans sent their ridiculous response. She had expected them to come to their senses by now, but no new messages had arrived from the primitive planet. Perhaps they need a demonstration, she said to her tactical officer. Prepare one antimatter torpedo. Target their moon. The tactical officer, a battle-scarred Zephyrian with dark crystals covering half his face, nodded eagerly. Yes, High Commander. Which section of the moon should we destroy? It doesn't matter, Vexthara replied. Just make sure the explosion is visible from their planet. Let them see what happens when they refuse the Empire. The massive dreadnought at the front of the fleet powered up its main weapon. Energy gathered in the torpedo tube like a miniature star. The antimatter torpedo launched silently through space, crossing the distance to Earth's moon in seconds. The explosion was magnificent. A crater 50 miles wide appeared on the lunar surface, glowing white-hot against the gray rock. The flash, was bright enough to see from Earth even during daylight. Chunks of moon rock flew into space like glowing meteors. On Earth, every person with access to a telescope watched in horror as part of their moon simply vanished. News broadcasts interrupted regular programming. Emergency meetings began in every capital city. Panic spread through social media like wildfire. But in the secret command center beneath Switzerland, Admiral Chen watched the explosion with calm eyes. She had expected this demonstration. The aliens always tried to terrify their targets before attacking. Impressive, she said quietly, but not unexpected. Director Webb, are all our deep space assets in position? Webb checked his screens carefully. Over the past day, mysterious signals had been coming from all over the solar system. Signals that officially shouldn't exist because humanity didn't have bases beyond Earth orbit. At least that's what everyone believed. All stations report ready, Admiral, Webb replied. Mars Shipyard Alpha, Asteroid Base 7, Jupiter Station, and, God help me, I still can't believe these places exist. Admiral Chen smiled. 10 years of the most expensive secret project in human history. We took every brilliant scientist, every innovative engineer, every creative mind we could find. We told them to solve one problem. How do we fight something so advanced it makes us look like cavemen? On the main screen, a new message appeared. From the alien fleet. High Commander Vexithera looked even more arrogant than before. Humans of Earth, her translated voice echoed through the command center. You have seen what our weapons can do. Your moon is now scarred forever as a reminder of our power. Surrender immediately, or the next target will be one of your cities. The message ended with another detailed scan of the alien fleet. 12,000 ships, each one larger than a city. Weapons that could crack continents. Shields that could absorb nuclear explosions without damage. Admiral Chen walked to the main communication panel and activated the global broadcast system. In every major city on Earth, giant screens displayed her message. Every radio and television station carried her words. Even personal phones received the transmission. People of Earth, she began, her voice steady and strong. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. You have seen the alien demonstration on our moon. You have heard their threats against our world. I want you to know that Earth will not surrender. Earth will not bow down. Earth will fight. She paused, letting her words sink in around the world. To the aliens listening to this broadcast, you have 69 hours and 47 minutes to leave our solar system. This is your only warning. The transmission ended. In cities around the world, people stared at their screens in disbelief. Fight? How could Earth possibly fight against such overwhelming power? High Commander Vexithera received the broadcast and laughed until her crystalline body shook. These creatures are insane. Do they think their primitive weapons can harm us? But her amusement faded when her sensor officer approached with a worried expression. Hi, Commander, the officer said carefully. We're detecting some unusual readings throughout the system. What kind of readings? Energy signatures, High Commander. Very faint, but they appear to be artificial. Our computers can't identify the source. Vexithera frowned. Her ships had the most advanced sensors in the galaxy. If they couldn't identify an energy source, it meant the technology was either very primitive or very advanced. Given what they knew about humans, it had to be primitive. Probably their power plants or communication satellites, she decided. Continue monitoring, but it's not a concern. What she didn't know was that human scientists had spent 10 years studying the captured alien probe. They had learned how Zephyrian sensors worked. They had developed new materials that could hide energy signatures. They had built an entire secret infrastructure using technology the aliens couldn't detect. In the asteroid belt, Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of the UEDF Defiance, humanity's first true starship. The ship didn't look like the crude rockets humans had used before. Its hull was made from materials that bent light around them, making it nearly invisible. Its engines used controlled quantum tunnels to move faster than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. Captain, her navigation officer reported, all stealth ships are in position. The enemy fleet has no idea we're here. Captain Santos nodded. Around her ship, 49 other vessels waited in complete silence. These ships had been built in secret facilities throughout the solar system. Each one carried weapons that shouldn't exist according to human technology levels. On Mars, General Harrison watched his crews prepare the Prometheus engine. The massive device was buried deep beneath the planet's surface, hidden from alien sensors. It had taken 8 years to build and another 2 years to test. The scientists called it humanity's ace in the hole. "Sir," his chief engineer reported, "the engine is ready for activation. We can manipulate local spacetime on your command." Harrison nodded grimly. The Prometheus engine was based on theories that most human scientists still considered impossible. But the captured alien probe had shown them new laws of physics. Desperate times had led to desperate innovations. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Vasquez descended into the deepest levels of Project Lazarus. Here, in chambers carved from solid rock, humanity's most secret weapons waited. The aliens thought humans only had nuclear bombs and chemical rockets. They had no idea about the quantum weapons. "Status report," she called to her team. "All quantum resonance chambers are charged and ready," came the reply. "The particle accelerator network is online. The dimensional fold generators are stable." Dr. Vasquez allowed herself a small smile. Every major city on Earth was connected by underground tunnels to this facility. Quantum entanglement devices allowed instant communication across the entire planet. Most importantly, the network could channel energy from anywhere on Earth to anywhere else in seconds. High Commander Vexithara stood on her bridge, unaware that her fleet was surrounded by invisible human ships. She didn't know about the weapons hidden throughout the solar system. She had no clue that Earth's magnetosphere had been turned into a massive energy collection system. "Tactical officer," she commanded, "begin final preparations for invasion. We'll give them 1 more day to surrender. Then we destroy their major population centers." "Yes, High Commander. Should we deploy scouts to map their defenses?" "Send a few ships to get detailed scans. These primitives might have hidden some nuclear weapons or chemical explosives. We should know where their military bases are before we attack." 3 Zephyrian scout ships broke away from the main fleet and headed toward Earth. They were small, fast vessels designed for reconnaissance. Their advanced sensors could detect military installations from millions of miles away. They never made it halfway to Earth. The first scout ship simply vanished. One moment it was there on the fleet sensors, the next moment it was gone. No explosion, no distress signal, no debris, it just disappeared. "Communications," Vexithara barked. "Contact Scout Ship 7. "No response, High Commander. The ship is not showing on any sensors." Before she could respond, the second scout ship disappeared. Then the third. "What is happening?" Vexithara demanded. "How can 3 ships just vanish?" Her sensor officer worked frantically at his controls. "High Commander, I'm detecting massive electromagnetic disturbances throughout the inner solar system. Something is interfering with our instruments." For the first time since arriving at Earth, High Commander Vexithara felt a small touch of uncertainty. In 300 years of conquest, scout ships didn't just disappear. Even the most advanced species they had faced couldn't make Zephyrian vessels vanish without a trace. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display as 3 red dots disappeared from her screen. The alien scouts had been destroyed by automated defense platforms hidden in Earth's magnetosphere. Platforms that used the planet's magnetic field to accelerate projectiles to incredible speeds. "Excellent work," she said quietly. "Now they know something's wrong, but they don't know what." She turned to Director Webb, who was staring at the displays with amazement. "Marcus, send another message to the aliens. Tell them they now have 68 hours and 12 minutes to leave." High Commander Vexithara paced across the bridge of her flagship like a caged predator. 3 scout ships had vanished without explanation. Her sensor officers reported strange energy readings throughout Earth's solar system. Something was very wrong, but she couldn't figure out what. "High Commander," her tactical officer approached carefully. "Perhaps we should call for reinforcements before proceeding." Vexithara's 4 eyes blazed with anger. "Reinforcements? Against a primitive world that hasn't even mastered interstellar travel? The Empire would strip me of command for such cowardice." She stopped pacing and stared at the blue planet on her viewing screen. Her pride demanded action. The Zephyrian Empire had never retreated from a primitive world, and she would not be the first commander to do so. "Deploy the fleet in standard siege formation," she ordered. "We advance on the primitive world immediately. Whatever tricks they're using, they cannot stand against 12,000 warships." Throughout the massive alien fleet, engines roared to life. The ships moved into attack formations that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Each vessel charged its weapons and powered up its shields. Computer systems calculated firing solutions for Earth's major cities. On Earth, every defense system humanity had built in secret suddenly came alive. Admiral Chen stood in the command center, watching displays that showed the true scope of humanity's preparation. For 10 years they had worked in absolute secrecy to build an impossible defense network. "All stations report ready," Director Webb announced, his voice shaking with excitement and terror. "The hidden fleet is in position. Ground-based. Weapons are charged. The Prometheus engine is online." Admiral Chen nodded calmly. "Open channels to all human forces. It's time to show these aliens what happens when you threaten our home." The first surprise came when the Zephyrian fleet reached the orbit of Mars. Suddenly, space around them filled with human ships that appeared from nowhere. Captain Santos and her stealth fleet dropped their invisibility cloaks and attacked with weapons that defied every law of physics the aliens knew. The UEDF Defiance fired its main gun, a quantum disruption cannon that phased through the alien shields like they didn't exist. The beam struck a Zephyrian cruiser directly in its reactor core. The massive alien ship exploded in a ball of brilliant light. "Direct hit," Captain Santos called out. "Their shields can't stop our weapons." Around her, 49 other human ships opened fire. Each vessel carried technology that had been impossible just 10 years ago. Quantum torpedoes that could ignore physical barriers, energy beams that traveled through folded space, missiles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Zephyrian fleet, expecting to face primitive nuclear weapons, found themselves under attack by forces they couldn't understand. Ships that had conquered star systems began exploding under the assault of weapons that shouldn't exist. "Impossible!" High Commander Vexithara screamed as she watched her tactical display. "How do they have such technology?" Her tactical officer worked frantically at his controls. "High Commander, these weapons are more advanced than anything in our databases. The humans are using technology we've never seen before." But the real shock came when the humans revealed their second surprise. Throughout Earth's solar system, hidden installations suddenly appeared on Zephyrian sensors. Weapon platforms built into asteroids, energy collectors hidden in the rings of Saturn, massive railguns disguised as space mining equipment. General Harrison activated the Prometheus engine from his base on Mars. The massive device reached out across space and grabbed the fabric of reality itself. Suddenly, the gravitational field around the Zephyrian fleet began to fluctuate wildly. Ships that had been flying in perfect formation found themselves pulled in random directions. "What is happening?" Vexithara demanded as her flagship shook violently. "They're manipulating space-time itself," her science officer replied in disbelief. "The humans have built a device that can control gravity." The battle raged throughout the solar system. Human ships darted between asteroids using their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid the aliens' massive guns. Every time the Zephyrians tried to target a human vessel, it would vanish into quantum fold space and reappear somewhere else. Lieutenant Kim piloted her fighter through the alien formation like a dancer. Her ship was tiny compared to the Zephyrian cruisers, but it carried weapons that could punch through their armor like paper. She destroyed 3 enemy ships before her vessel took a direct hit. "Engine failure," she called over the radio. "I'm losing power." Her fighter tumbled out of control, heading straight for a Zephyrian dreadnought. Kim looked at her instruments and made a decision that would be remembered forever. "All human forces, this is Lightning 7, she broadcast. "Tell Earth we didn't surrender. Tell the galaxy humans don't give up." She aimed her crippled fighter at the enemy ship's weapon systems and fired her remaining missiles. The explosion tore through the dreadnought's hull, causing a chain reaction that destroyed the entire vessel and 2 ships beside it. Similar acts of courage happened throughout the battle. Human pilots, outnumbered and outgunned, fought with a desperation and creativity the aliens had never encountered. They used their ships as weapons when their guns failed. They rammed enemy vessels rather than retreat. They died fighting rather than surrender. On Earth, Dr. Vasquez activated the planet's ultimate defense system. The quantum entanglement network that connected every major city began to channel energy from Earth's magnetosphere. The planet's magnetic field became a weapon, focusing solar radiation into beams of pure destruction that lanced out toward the alien fleet. "Firing planetary defense grid," she announced calmly. Beams of concentrated energy reached across millions of miles of space in seconds. They struck Zephyrian ships with the power of nuclear explosions, but focused into areas smaller than a person's fist. The aliens' shields, designed to stop missiles and energy weapons, couldn't protect against attacks that came from the target planet's own magnetic field. High Commander Vexithera watched in horror as her mighty fleet began to fall apart. Ships that had conquered civilizations across the galaxy were being destroyed by beings she had dismissed as primitives. Her tactical computers couldn't predict human behavior, because humans fought like no species the Empire had ever faced. "Hi, Commander," her communications officer called out. "We're receiving a transmission from the primitive planet." Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main screen. She looked calm and confident, like someone who had been expecting this battle for years. "Hi, Commander Vexithara," Admiral Chen said politely. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. How are you enjoying our welcome party?" Vexithara's crystalline features twisted with rage. "You cannot win, human. We have conquered 847 star systems. Your primitive technology cannot defeat the might of the Empire." Admiral Chen smiled. "Commander, I think you're confused about who's primitive here. You came to our system expecting to find scared animals armed with sticks and stones. Instead, you found something else entirely." "What are you?" Vexithara demanded. "We're humans," Admiral Chen replied simply, "and we don't like bullies." The battle continued to rage around them. More Zephyrian ships fell to human weapons that bent the laws of physics. The aliens began to retreat, pulling back toward the outer system, but human forces followed them. Ships appeared from quantum fold space to attack from unexpected angles. Hidden weapons platforms revealed themselves to strike at retreating vessels. "Impossible," Vexithara whispered as she watched her fleet being systematically destroyed. "This cannot be happening." But it was happening. The species she had expected to conquer in hours was defeating her in battle. The primitives were winning. For the first time in 300 years of conquest, the Zephyrian Empire faced an enemy that not only fought back, but fought better than they did. The humans weren't just defending their world. They were showing the galaxy that some species were not meant to be conquered. Admiral Chen's transmission continued. "Commander, you have a choice to make. You can continue this battle and lose the rest of your fleet, or you can accept that Earth is not for sale. We didn't ask for this fight, but we've been preparing for it for 10 years. She leaned forward, her eyes hard as steel. "What's it going to be?" The space around Earth looked like a graveyard. Broken pieces of Zephyrian ships drifted between the planets like metal snow. Of the 12,000 vessels that had arrived to conquer humanity, fewer than 8,000 remained functional. The rest were debris, destroyed by weapons that shouldn't have existed on a primitive world. High Commander Vexithara stood on the bridge of her flagship, staring at tactical displays that told an impossible story. Her science officers worked frantically to understand how humans had developed such advanced technology. Her military advisors calculated and recalculated battle strategies, but nothing worked against an enemy that fought like no species they had ever encountered. "Status report," she demanded, her crystalline voice sharp with frustration. "High Commander," her tactical officer replied hesitantly. "We've lost 35% of our fleet. The humans continue to attack from impossible angles. Their ships appear and disappear faster than our sensors can track them." Vexithara slammed one of her 6 arms against the command console. "How is this possible? Our intelligence reports showed they had primitive rocket technology and crude nuclear weapons. What she didn't understand was that human intelligence had been feeding the aliens false information for months. Every probe the Zephyrians had sent to study Earth had seen exactly what humanity wanted them to see: a divided world with limited technology and no unified defense. The reality was completely different. On Earth, Admiral Chen coordinated the battle from her underground command center. Holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in the solar system, both human and alien. Red dots marked enemy vessels, while blue dots showed humanity's secret fleet. "Report from Captain Santos," Director Webb announced. "The stealth squadron has eliminated another enemy formation. They're requesting permission to pursue the retreating ships toward Jupiter." Admiral Chen nodded. "Grant permission, but tell them to be careful. The aliens are adapting to our tactics." She was right to be cautious. The Zephyrian Empire hadn't conquered 847 star systems by being stupid. Their commanders were beginning to understand that humans fought differently than any species they had faced before. Most civilizations the Empire encountered fought logically. They used standard military formations, predictable tactics, and reasonable strategies. When facing overwhelming odds, they either surrendered quickly or fought defensively until their inevitable defeat. Humans did none of these things. Captain Rodriguez piloted his fighter in a spiraling dive toward a Zephyrian battlecruiser. His ship's engines pushed far beyond safe limits. His wingman, Lieutenant Davis, followed close behind. Both pilots were grinning like madmen despite flying into certain death. "Rodriguez to base," the captain called over the radio. "We're going to try something really stupid." "Define stupid," came Admiral Chen's voice from Earth. "We're going to fly our fighters inside that battlecruiser's main gun barrel and detonate our quantum torpedoes from the inside." There was silence on the radio for several seconds. Then Admiral Chen's voice returned, calm and professional. "Approved. Give them hell." The two fighters dove into the massive barrel of the alien ship's main weapon, just as it was charging to fire. The explosion that followed tore the entire front section off the battlecruiser. The Zephyrian ship, crippled and defenseless, was quickly finished off by other human vessels. This kind of insane bravery happened throughout the battle. Human pilots performed maneuvers that should have killed them. They attacked ships 10 times their size without hesitation. They used their vessels as weapons when their guns ran out of ammunition. The aliens couldn't understand it. In their experience, intelligent species valued their own lives above everything else. Creatures that threw themselves into hopeless attacks were considered mentally defective or desperate beyond reason. But humans weren't desperate. They were angry. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the quantum weapons network from deep beneath Earth's surface. The planetary defense grid had been her greatest achievement, a system that could channel energy from anywhere on Earth to anywhere in the solar system using quantum entanglement. "Dr. Vasquez," her assistant called out, "we're detecting massive energy buildups in the enemy fleet. They're preparing something big." She looked at her displays and saw what the aliens were planning. The remaining Zephyrian ships were linking their power systems together, preparing to unleash a coordinated attack that could crack Earth's crust. "Not on my watch," she muttered, and began typing commands into her control system. Around Earth, hidden installations that had been disguised as communication satellites suddenly revealed their true purpose. Each one was a quantum entanglement node, capable of redirecting energy across impossible distances. Dr. Vasquez connected them all to Earth's magnetosphere and began charging the most powerful weapon humanity had ever built. On Mars, General Harrison received an urgent message from Earth. The Prometheus engine was needed for something unprecedented. Not just manipulating local gravity, but creating a stable wormhole. "Are you insane?" he asked Admiral Chen over the quantum communication link. "We've never tested anything like that." "General, we need reinforcements, and we need them now," Admiral Chen replied. "Can the Prometheus engine open a gateway to our outer system facilities?" Harrison looked at his engineers, who were frantically checking calculations. Finally, his chief scientist nodded. "It's possible, but incredibly dangerous. If the wormhole becomes unstable, it could tear apart half the solar system." "Do it," Admiral Chen ordered. The Prometheus engine reached out across space and grabbed the fabric of reality with invisible hands. Space-time twisted and folded as the massive device forced open a tunnel through dimensions that shouldn't exist. On the other end, humanity's most distant outposts received the signal they had been waiting for. High Commander Vexithera watched, her sensors in disbelief as new human ships began appearing throughout the solar system. Not just a few vessels, but hundreds of them. Ships that emerged from impossible portals in space as if humanity had access to unlimited reserves. "Where are they coming from?" she demanded. Her science officer's hands shook as he worked at his controls. "High Commander, they appear to be using some form of dimensional transportation. Our computers cannot analyze the technology." The truth was even more incredible than the aliens imagined. For 10 years, humanity had been building ships and weapons in secret facilities throughout the outer solar system. Hidden bases in the asteroid belt, camouflaged installations on the moons of distant planets, automated factories that worked constantly to prepare for this day. Everything had been connected by quantum entanglement communicators and supplied by automated cargo ships using routes the aliens had never discovered. When the battle began, humanity didn't just have 50 ships. They had thousands, waiting in hidden locations throughout their solar system. Captain Santos led the first wave of reinforcements, her ship emerging from a dimensional portal directly behind the alien formation. "This is defiance actual to all vessels," she announced. "Welcome to the party. Let's finish this." The new human ships attacked with coordinated precision that made the aliens' tactical computers scream warnings. These weren't desperate defensive moves anymore. This was a full military assault using technology that was generations ahead of what Earth was supposed to possess. Vexithara realized with growing horror that she had been completely outmaneuvered. The humans hadn't just been defending their planet. They had been preparing to destroy her entire fleet from the beginning. Every aspect of the battle had been planned in advance, from the first surprise attack to the arrival of these impossible reinforcements. "Communications," she barked. "Send a message to Imperial Command. Request immediate reinforcement from the core worlds." Her communications officer worked frantically at his controls, then looked up with despair. "High Commander, something is jamming our long-range communications. We cannot contact the Empire." Of course they couldn't. Dr. Vasquez had been using Earth's quantum entanglement network to interfere with Zephyrian communications since the battle began. The aliens were cut off from their empire, alone, in a hostile star system with an enemy that had proven far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Admiral Chen opened a new communication channel to the alien flagship. Her image appeared on Vexithara's main screen, but now she was surrounded by holographic displays showing the true scope of humanity's military capabilities. "High Commander," Admiral Chen said politely, "I believe it's time we had an honest conversation about your situation." The holographic display in High Commander Vexithera's bridge showed the devastating truth. Of her original 12,000 ships, only 3,000 remained combat-ready. The space around Earth was filled with wreckage from vessels that had conquered star systems across the galaxy. Her mighty fleet, the pride of the Zephyrian Empire, was being systematically destroyed by a species she had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Chen's image filled the main screen, her calm expression a stark contrast to the chaos of battle around them. Behind her, holographic displays showed the positions of human forces throughout the solar system. There were far more blue dots than Vexithara had thought possible. "High Commander," Admiral Chen said with perfect politeness, "I believe we need to discuss the current situation." Vexithara's four eyes blazed with fury and disbelief. "You cannot win, human. The Empire has conquered 847 worlds. We have fleets throughout the galaxy. Even if you destroy us, more will come." Admiral Chen nodded thoughtfully. "You're probably right. The Zephyrian Empire is vast and powerful, but you're missing an important point, Commander. You won't be alive to see those reinforcements arrive." She gestured to her displays which showed the real-time battle status. "Your fleet is surrounded and outnumbered. Your long-range communications are jammed. Your ships are being destroyed faster than you can retreat. This isn't a conquest anymore, Commander. This is a rescue mission. Your own." Vexithara looked at her tactical displays and felt something she had never experienced in 3 centuries. Of conquest, genuine fear. The humans weren't just defending their planet anymore. They were hunting her remaining ships like predators stalking wounded prey. Captain Santos led a squadron of human vessels in a coordinated strike against a group of retreating Zephyrian cruisers. Her ships moved through space like sharks, appearing from quantum fold space to deliver devastating attacks before vanishing again. The aliens couldn't hit what they couldn't see. "Target their engines, not their weapons," Santos commanded. "We want them disabled, not destroyed. Dead aliens can't carry our message back to their empire." Her pilots followed orders with deadly precision. Quantum torpedoes phased through alien shields to strike engine cores directly. Energy beams carved through hull plating like hot knives through butter. One by one, the Zephyrian ships lost power and drifted helplessly in space. On Earth, Dr. Vasquez prepared humanity's ultimate demonstration of power. The planetary quantum network had been charging for hours, drawing energy from Earth's magnetosphere, solar radiation, and the planet's own rotation. The amount of power flowing through the system was enough to supply every city on Earth for 1,000 years. "Dr. Vasquez," Admiral Chen's voice came through the communication system. "Are you ready for Project Lazarus' final protocol?" Elena looked at her displays one more time, checking every system. The quantum entanglement network stretched from Mercury to the outer planets. Hidden installations throughout the solar system were ready to channel unimaginable amounts of energy toward a single target. "Ready, Admiral," she replied. "We can target any ship in their fleet with enough power to crack a moon in half." "Admiral," Chen's image turned back to the alien commander. "Hi, Commander Vexithara. I want you to understand something very important. Earth didn't just prepare to defend itself, we prepared to send a message." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Your empire has conquered 847 star systems because those civilizations couldn't fight back effectively. Today, you've encountered something different. Today, you've met humanity." Vexithara's voice cracked with desperation. "What do you want from us?" "I want you to listen very carefully," Admiral Chen replied, her tone becoming deadly serious. "In exactly 60 seconds, I'm going to demonstrate what happens when someone threatens our home. You're going to watch, you're going to remember, and you're going to carry that memory back to your empire." She gestured to someone off-screen. "Dr. Vasquez, please select a target." On Vexithara's tactical display, one of her largest battleships suddenly began flashing with warning lights. The vessel's captain transmitted frantically to the flagship, reporting massive energy buildups detected throughout the solar system. "What are you doing?" Vexithara demanded. Admiral Chen looked directly into the camera, her eyes hard as steel. "We're showing you why Earth is not for conquest." The countdown began. 59, 58, 57. Throughout the solar system, every hidden installation humanity had built began channeling energy toward Earth. The quantum entanglement network focused the combined power of an entire star system into streams of pure destruction. Dr. Vasquez's systems calculated trajectories that bent spacetime itself. 30, 29, 28. On the targeted Zephyrian battleship, alarms screamed as sensors detected energy levels that shouldn't be possible. The ship's captain ordered maximum power to shields and engines, but his vessel couldn't move fast enough to escape what was coming. 10, 9, 8. Vexithara watched in horror as every display on her bridge showed the same impossible reading. The humans had somehow focused the energy output of their entire solar system into a single attack. The power levels were beyond anything in Zephyrian science. 3, 2, 1. The attack came from everywhere at once. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out from hidden installations throughout the solar system, all converging on the single battleship. The vessel's shields lasted for approximately 1/10 of a second before failing completely. The energy beams struck the ship's hull and simply erased it from existence. The battleship didn't explode. It didn't break apart. It simply ceased to exist, leaving only empty space where a massive warship had been just seconds before. Complete silence filled both bridges as the implications sank in. "That," Admiral Chen said quietly, "was set to minimum power." Vexithara stared at the empty space where one of her most powerful ships had been. Her science officers frantically checked their instruments, unable to believe what they had seen. Her tactical computers had no classification for weapons that could simply delete matter from reality. Now, Admiral Chen continued, let me make humanity's position perfectly clear. You came to our system expecting to find primitives armed with crude weapons. Instead, you found a species that has spent 10 years preparing for this exact confrontation. You've lost 2/3 of your fleet to weapons you can't understand, used by beings you underestimated completely. She leaned forward, her expression becoming even more serious. High Commander, this is humanity's final ultimatum. You have exactly 60 seconds to order the immediate withdrawal of all Zephyrian forces from our solar system. If you comply, your remaining ships will be allowed to leave safely. If you refuse, we will demonstrate our full capabilities on your flagship. The countdown began again, displayed on every screen in both fleets. 59, 58. Bexthara looked around, her bridge at officers who had conquered hundreds of worlds. All of them stared back at her with the same expression of defeat. They had come to harvest primitives and found apex predators instead. 40, 39, 38. High Commander, her tactical officer whispered. We cannot win this battle. The humans have technology beyond our understanding. Their weapons can destroy us faster than we can retreat. 20, 19, 18. Bexthara closed her 4 eyes and felt the weight of 300 years of conquest crashing down on her. The Zephyrian Empire had never retreated from a primitive world, but they had also never faced anything like humanity. 15, 14, 13. She opened her eyes and looked directly at Admiral Chen's image. All Zephyrian forces, she announced in a voice that echoed with defeat, retreat to minimum safe distance and prepare for immediate departure from this system. The countdown stopped at 7 seconds. Admiral Chen nodded with professional courtesy. A wise decision, High Commander. Your ships will not be harmed during your withdrawal. As the surviving Zephyrian vessels began their retreat, Admiral Chen activated the wideband communication system that would broadcast her message throughout the galaxy. Every species within 50 light-years would receive humanity's declaration. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, she announced, her voice carrying across the stars. Let this message be heard by every civilization in the galaxy. Earth is not for conquest. Humanity will not be enslaved. Any species that approaches our system with hostile intent will discover what happens when you threaten our home. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We are humanity. We do not surrender. We do not yield. And we do not forgive those who would destroy our world. The message transmitted across space, carrying with it the quantum signatures of weapons that could erase matter from existence. Throughout the galaxy, civilizations that had accepted Zephyrian dominance as inevitable suddenly realized that the balance of power had shifted. As the last alien ship disappeared into hyperspace, celebrations began on Earth. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they had announced themselves as a force that would not be conquered. But Admiral Chen knew this was just the beginning. Other empires would receive the message. Some would be afraid, others would be curious. And some would see humanity as a threat that needed to be eliminated. Humanity had won their first galactic war. Now they would have to